You know what my favorite text is? A waypoint in the onX Hunt app to a goblin turkey. The list on the onX Hunt app features for chasing turkeys is long, but knowing exact public and private boundaries and land ownership details will help you find more places to hunt, whether that's on public or private. I'll be toting the Hunt app through the spring woods in a few states this year, and I recommend you do the same if you want more turkeys on your table. Also, onX has a special offer for you. Use code BEARGREASE to receive 20% off your membership at onxmaps.com/hunt this spring.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
Maui Nui is on a mission to help balance axis deer populations for the good of our environment, communities, and food systems on the island of Maui. They've shared over 126,000 pounds of nutrient-dense protein with the Maui community. Secure your spot now. Become a snack subscriber and join in helping to build more resilient food and ecosystems on Maui. Visit MauiNuiVenison.com. That's MAUINUI venison.com and use promo code BEAR for 20% off your first order. My name is Clay Newcomb, and this is a production of the Bear Grease podcast called the Bear Grease Render, where we render down, dive deeper, and look behind the scenes of the actual Bear Grease podcast. Presented by FHF Gear, American-made, purpose-built hunting and fishing gear that's designed to be as rugged as the places we explore.
Nuke, your office looks real nice.
Does it really?
Yeah, it feels.
Why?
I think it could be because it's so gray and sad outside, but it just feels.
It is pleasantly gloomy out.
Do you think it's because I just sprayed this Old Spice wolf thorn in here?
I don't know. I mean,
First time in Misty's life she's ever walked in my office and went, man, it just looks really nice in here. Not 5 minutes ago.
Is that the only thing you've done different today?
Yes. 5 minutes ago, I picked this up from where Bear Newcomb parks his vehicle. It is a can of aerosol aluminum-free body spray, Wolfthorn Old Spice. I walked in, put a puff by the air conditioner. Ben's almost down. We almost lost one.
This chair.
You're in the chair.
That chair's got a reputation.
Be careful with that chair. We're going to introduce our guest here. I puffed this right by the air conditioner. Misty walks in and is like, man, it looks great in here.
other things that are
And you've
different.
never been more handsome.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he's got a wolf skin or a coonskin hat on his head.
Wow. Just bring up the elephant in the room right off.
The raccoon in the room.
So let me. Well, what's different about the office?
I think that you have tidied up the podcast equipment on that little,
It does look more
Tote.
tidy.
and I think that having it organized like that, as opposed to how it typically is, makes it feel cleaner in here. And I like a clean and orderly environment.
I think it's because there's nothing laying right there.
Yeah,
All the
I
stuff
agree.
that's laying at my back, I can't see it.
Yeah, right.
So it's just a
Out
matter
of
of
sight, out of
perception.
mind.
Did
Yeah.
y'all notice there's a new bear hide in here?
This
See
one
that
right
big
here?
old bear hide?
That's a beautiful dark chocolate brown bear
Wow.
right there.
Yes, it is, Josh. Good eye.
Yeah.
Josh has an eye for color.
It's real glossy fur,
Many people
too.
would just look at that and say it's black, but you're right. It is deep chocolate.
Yeah, pretty.
Deep chocolate. So that's the bear that I killed last year that's on the film, the Newcomb Family Bear Camp film.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
when Bear killed his bear in National Forest, and then I killed the bear, that's the bear. I just got it back. It's a beautiful hide. Probably a 6.5 foot bear.
Yeah, it's a good size.
Wow.
Weighed about 300 pounds. So that does bring up a great point about the office. I have been working on my tractor. I have a B26 Kubota tractor. that I bought in 2007, brand spanking new.
I believe we put our
Basically-
house up as collateral. I'm dead serious.
I mean, it was like the
Got your
biggest
priorities
purchase
straight.
of my life. Do you
Uh-huh.
remember it, Dad?
Oh yeah, shoot you out.
And I bought it, and it was one of the best decisions that I ever made because I made a living driving that thing
Right.
for I started in 2005, ended that career stint in 2013. So from 07 to 13, really made a living off this little Kubota backhoe. I still have it, and it's got 1,200 hours on it. Those things hold their value, tremendous value. I had a lot of people try to buy it from me, and I won't sell it.
But it's like part of the family now.
Yeah, but I spent quite a bit of time digging out. So my office is on a
Slope.
Decline?
slightly sloped ridge. I don't know, probably a 10, 15 degree slope. And I dug out probably 20 feet back into the ridge. And would you say that cut bank back there is probably 3.5, 4
Yeah.
feet?
Yep.
So I mean, moved a lot of dirt.
Yep.
And
For a Kubota B2600.
yeah. So it's not a big tractor. And I use the dirt to fill in a bunch of other stuff, but I'm building on a north wing to the global headquarters of Meat Eater South.
The global headquarters
Mhm.
of Meat Eater South.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
You
right.
got it.
I haven't got the official clearing from Meat Eater for that title.
That's a little heavy duty, really.
Yeah.
You might find yourself working at Walmart if you're not careful.
But I have big plans this winter and spring. I've got a guy going to bring a sawmill in. We're going to cut some longleaf pine off Dad's land in Oklahoma. We're going to skid it out with the tractor. We're going to bring it back here. We're going to mill up all the framing lumber for the addition. I've cut some cedars off my place that we're going to use to line the inside. And basically, I'm going to build a big wing that's going to be for gear and primarily for gear and for Miss Newcomb to have an office. How about that?
Be awesome.
That'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, how about that?
She's earned it.
After all these years.
She's earned it.
Yeah.
She's earned it.
So that's big news.
Mhm.
Would you guys agree?
Agree.
I would agree.
Okay, so to my left, Josh Lambridge, Spillmaker.
Greetings, everybody.
Fantastic to see. When we come back around, we're going to talk about what I'm wearing.
Okay.
And to
Wow.
to Josh to Josh's left. To Josh's left.
Without any
Like a fashion
Ben's not
show.
really a guest. Ben, you've never been on Bear Grease, but you were on Bear Hunting Magazine podcast.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ben Lagrone, longtime family friend of ours.
His
And-
wife worked for.
Yeah, we were just
magazine,
talking about.
yeah.
So Ben's wife worked for me for how long, Ben?
I think 8 years.
She was the copy editor
Yeah.
of Bear Hunting Magazine.
Yeah.
And
And she was like a
tell us
an
what
English
she did
major.
and why it's kind of fun now.
Yeah.
Well, so my wife she's never really hunted. Doesn't know really. It's not her thing. But when you hired her, she had to read every single article. Every article that was ever in Bear Hunting Magazine, Jessica's read and edited. And then you'd also send the magazine to her, so she would proof the whole thing and just look over
So
every
she
minor
would
detail.
individually read all the articles
Yeah.
and edit them.
Yeah.
And then when I built the magazine, I would send her the finished version of the magazine, which she would read again.
Yeah.
I promise you, she read way more than I did about bear hunting.
I'm just glad that wasn't my job because that's a lot of time in the bathroom reading magazines.
Well, this one time, Clay told her straight up, Jessica, I think you know more about bear hunting than I do. And to this day, any question I ever have about not just bear hunting, but the species, I ask my wife. I don't ask Clay.
Yeah.
And because she can file off all these stories and anecdotes and this biology. And it's like amazing because she's never hunted. And she, she's from Midwest and kind of moved around a lot of places in the Midwest.
Yeah.
To my standards would be considered Yankee, as we'd call it, and which, plenty of people up north hunt. But it's to this day very funny to me. And I genuinely learn a lot from her.
I love it.
We got
That's
to
awesome.
get her on the podcast
We do,
at
we
some
do.
point.
Yeah.
And hey, Dad, I was going to tell you this outside, but I thought I'd wait to tell you this. Ben and Jessica are internet sensations.
Oh, really?
For real.
They actually are.
Tell us about your business. That's not why
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
here, but
Yeah. So I guess you could say in the baby world, we're a big deal. If you're a baby, we're a big deal. So years ago, we started an online childbirth class, and it was this dream we had. And then during COVID, it kind of blew up because people couldn't go to hospitals and have traditional childbirth classes. And Jessica's a certified childbirth educator and a doula, a labor doula. And it just kind of grew from there to this whole brand and business where we build online courses for couples wanting to learn about childbirth, how to take care of babies. And we got a lot of big dreams and places we're taking in the future. But it's just me and her. We run the whole business on the internet. So it started out as an Instagram thing. We make educational but comedic videos about
They're wildly in
pretty much every stereotype toward pregnant
So
women and
my
expecting
Instagram
fathers.
logarithm is thrown way off because it's like
Yeah.
fly
You're
fishing,
an outlier.
hunting,
Yeah.
and then y'all.
I actually, whenever we started, I had to unfollow our account too. So I was like, this is messing up my world.
Yeah. So tell us what the Instagram name is.
Balanced birth couple, balance.birth.couple. And that comes from our company name, which is called Balanced Family. So we're helping couples learn how to balance all the information they read on the internet because you get all the extremes now. And the extremes on the internet thrive on both sides of the controversy. We try to teach couples how to be balanced, figure out what's good for them. So that's our business.
So they make a living, like he and his wife, full-time living off the internet business. They've got 100,000 plus people, right?
Yeah,
They're following
108,000.
on Instagram,
Yeah.
big TikTok following,
Right.
and then they sell these birth classes. So it's really pretty cool.
Mhm.
And being your hunter, you're lifelong hunter.
Yeah, lifelong hunter, born and bred in Arkansas. I'm actually like a multi-generational Arkansan. I was thinking about because you always say you're like 7th generation
Yeah,
Arkansan.
yeah.
I tried to
do
count
other
up.
states do that?
I don't know.
It's weird in Arkansas the
Yeah.
way people are like, I'm a 7th generation, I'm a 9th
Yeah, yeah,
generation, and it's like
We're
I
just
never
proud
hear
that we're
that.
alive.
Yeah,
This place is so poor, it's so desolate.
Yeah,
It's true. People need
Well,
to know the
just-
history of Arkansas. They might not know like Arkansas came from a
Do
bunch
you
of
remember
people.
one of the most Ben? We're going to get back to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But on this topic, Mark Kenyon asked
Yeah.
me about my mule trailer on his show, Deer Country.
Okay.
Mhm.
And he said, Clay, why are you riding around with this old beat up mule trailer? He said, is it like a family heirloom or is there some like sentimental thing? And I said, Mark, my family's been in Arkansas for 7 generations. And that is not enough time to pull yourself up from the dregs of poverty. You can tell a lot about a man's expendable income by his mule trailer.
Mhm.
Mark Kenyon, silent.
He was
Carry
processing
on, Ben.
that.
I'm very proud of you that you're a multi-generational.
Yeah, yeah.
Arkansan.
Well, when I started hearing you introduce yourself like that, I wanted to start counting it up, and I was
Yeah.
like, I can't really count it up. I don't know. So I'm multi-generational.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, hunted my whole life and love to fish. And my fly fishing mentor is in the room.
Oh,
Yeah.
The land bridge
This
himself.
past year, Josh has got me on fire for fly fishing. So I love
Really?
it. Yeah,
I didn't
love it.
realize that.
Yeah. I absolutely love it, and it's all thanks to this guy.
I know that one of your girls hunts with you. I've seen her in pictures.
I got 2 out of the 3 hunting with me now.
2 out of 3 hunting
Yeah.
with you. Okay. Do any of them fish with you?
Oh, they love fishing. They love
Ben
fishing.
bought a boat too, and kind of he fixed.
Yeah.
Well, he fixed up a boat, sold it, bought another boat.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I kind of feel lied to because
Hmm.
I didn't get taken fishing a lot.
Hmm.
All right. I just going to just throw that out there. That wasn't an
Mhm.
experience I had. When I did have it, I was told I had to be quiet.
Oh no, not by me.
You know
No,
what?
not but I'm talking about like as a kid.
I get it.
And now I see all these people taking their kids fishing, and I'm like, I know your kids. They're not quiet.
You think they were just looking for a reason for
to
you
tell
to be
me
quiet?
that I had to be quiet.
Never.
Did people? Let me ask you something, Misty. Did people tell you that when you were doing pretty much everything else, shopping? You know,
It's true.
you
I
gotta be quiet when you're shopping.
Yeah,
My-
yeah. You can't let other shoppers know what you're after. Or they'll take it from you.
We traveled a lot, and there's a fun story where my brothers basically said every time we went out to eat, not a joke, Misty, we bet you can't stay quiet
Oh no.
the whole order or the whole this or the whole that. Or they would, and so one time a waitress came up and she's like, "What are you doing?" I had 3 older brothers who just tormented me, and yeah, all in fun and games. But I was the only girl, and it was like I was their favorite. One of my brothers told my mom, she's our chew toy. And so this waitress came up, and I was pointing, and it was weird because I wasn't talking.
Right.
And finally, my mom said they want to see how long she can stay quiet for, and she's kind of trying to prove them wrong because like I'm the youngest child, only girl. This is the sort of thing. And the woman felt really sorry for me because she had all older brothers. So they announced over the big speakers at this restaurant after 20 minutes that they wanted to congratulate Misty for being quiet for 20 minutes. They brought me this
Wow.
big, huge sundae.
No way.
I felt vindicated. My brothers got so mad. I mean, like so upset because my parents were like, she does not have to share with y'all.
That's good stuff.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty good story. Kind of claim to fame. I could be quiet for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yes, I was told that a lot.
Has it happened since?
And
Shut
then
your
now
yapper.
there's a Let Misty Talk campaign
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's true.
going on
Yep.
across the
Yeah.
world. Well,
It's like a
Ben, good to
cycle.
have you.
Uh,
So to Misty's left, to Ben's left, Misty.
That'd be Misty.
Yes.
She
to
been
Mis-
chatting.
to Misty's left, Gary Believer Newcomb.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here.
Wearing his
I-
signature
I,
hat.
I get, not every day, multiple times per week would not be an exaggeration of people sending me Black Panther stuff.
Mm.
Nonstop.
Yeah. You know, I'm seeing a lot of it now too. Just on the internet. I mean, a guy go here, look here, Black Panther. Grandma saw it walking through the backyard. You know that type deal.
Yeah.
And you know,
It's real.
and in fact,
They're
I had
real
a guy
video.
yesterday say, "Does Clay still believe that Black Panthers don't exist?"
Are
after
you
all
serious?
This? Yeah.
Was
yeah.
he- was he serious?
It was coy. You know, coy.
Yeah.
He introduced me to a buddy of his from college. He said, "Hey, here's the believer."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we got to laughing about that. But
So he actually he thinks that like I'm in the wrong.
well, you know, he's not sure. And I said, well, Clay stays pretty close to the science. And I said, probably what we're seeing is pumas, some, painted something walking through there that's probably not a panther, but I still believe in them. I was just trying to describe what you probably believe.
Yeah. Well, you're wearing a believer hat, which you usually do for the render. You know, Steve Rinella loves that hat.
Does he?
He wears it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels pretty good on my head.
Yeah. Speaking of hats, last night I got a text from I was coming home from Ohio, which is a foreshadowing of what's to come, which we're not going to talk about at all.
He's looking at me. Got it.
Misty,
Message received.
Let's see how long you can be quiet. No, I'm just kidding.
Watch
I'll be
yourself.
honest. She was already telling me stuff in the house
Yeah,
over there.
about where I've been.
And then I shut it
Let's
down.
just
I
say
shut
you
it
did a
down.
good job.
Let's
of
just say, Bear Grease fans, you're not going to want to miss the next one.
You're not. I mean, like, sincerely, you're not.
Yeah.
hmm
So my friend Andrew Wills from Nashville, who has a band called Hawk and Horse, sent me a text message of a screen clip of a television with the Bengals Chiefs game, and there was a guy with a Bear Grease hat with his arm out, like saying like "First down, Bengals," and they zoomed in on him for he just stood out in the crowd. He was standing up and he had his arm out like this, and I assumed it was the call that was correct. It was first
Right.
down. They just randomly get crowd shots. Well, they zoom in on this guy for just like 2 seconds,
Right.
and he's wearing a Bear Grease hat.
I love it.
hmm
And my internet world just like lit up. People were just all over, just like, Clay, I was watching NFL. There was a dude with a Bear Grease hat.
Really?
And then everybody chimed in about what he was drinking, which he was drinking. I couldn't even tell what he was drinking, but apparently it was some kind of beer. And people were going on and on about the beer he was drinking. And then he had a Bengals jersey on. And so the people that love the Bengals were like, this guy should be president. Bear Grease hat and a number 9 Bengals jersey. And then people were like, great hat, but they ought to drive him over with a truck for wearing that jersey. The place just like erupted. But I thought it was pretty cool that he had a Bear Grease hat on. Which
It was cool. I saw that. Yeah.
the Bear Grease hat, and every time that I go somewhere, or just anytime Bear Grease hat comes up, people tell me that they were in a public random place wearing their Bear Grease hat, and people stop them. And have had multiple people tell me that they've made friends in airports, restaurants, because they talk to this guy that has a Bear Grease hat on, and they like have stuff in common with him.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Bear-
they're like
Bear
they're
Grease,
like, bro,
healing
we're bros.
America.
So
That's
you're
right, one
pulling
hat at a time.
America
One hat
together.
at a time.
Pulling America
You're
together.
bringing us all together, man.
Pulling
That's right.
America together, one hat at a time.
Healing America. That's what
Yeah.
we're gonna put underneath Bear Grease.
Hey, let's talk about your hat.
Okay, continuing on with headgear. Josh, why don't you describe what I'm wearing?
I
From the
would
shoes
say
up.
pro-
I wish Brent
actually
was here. Brent
he does
is
have
so
his
good
extra
at
tough.
this.
He does have his extra tough boots on.
Yeah.
Kind of a milk chocolate brown, and then he's sporting these Cordura nylon overalls. Dan's
These
briar-proof overalls.
these overalls are bad to the bone.
They look pretty bad to the
Did
bone.
you know that Dan's hunting gear is it's a company out of Ohio, and I watched
Wow.
their video
Well,
today.
We're just Ohio heavy today.
Yeah, and I bought it in Ohio at a sporting goods store. And I went home and looked up Dan's. Dan's is based in Ohio, and these are handcrafted by the Amish.
Really?
1 human being made this entire thing. Like the zippers, the stitching, the cutting, the buttons was made by one person in Ohio.
Really?
The Amish people.
Wow. How do you know it was made by one person?
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Mm.
They say it's quality control. Like they have people
Interesting.
that just make the whole thing, so they're able to. When you pass off jobs, like you do
Yeah.
this, you do this, you do this, like stuff could get
Right.
missed. But they have real quality control. And I've never owned a thing of Dan's.
Hey, are those
before.
waiter boots that Brent wears? Are they Dan's too?
Probably. There's a couple of kind of rough hunting, coon hunting, like gear. Dan's
Right.
is one of them. Wix used to be one, but I don't
Okay.
think Wix is business. And then Nightlight makes a brand of bib, like briar breeches, chap overalls. But these are waterproof, briar proof, like super tough.
Mm.
I'm a big
That's awesome.
fan. So yeah, carry on.
And then
We're
and
now
then
up to the shoulders.
a shirt.
So,
He's wearing a button-down shirt.
the
Pearl
shoulders
snap,
are the front line of a man's physique. Mystique, excuse me.
pearl snap shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the crowning glory of this outfit would be this fine, handcrafted by one person, coonskin hat,
Yes.
and
at this,
whose hides were treed by none other than the one and only Fern Newcomb,
The late Fern.
the late Fern Newcomb.
Josh made this coonskin hat for me.
Josh
Yeah.
is the one person.
Josh is the one person.
Yep.
Mhm.
I am.
Yeah,
Handcrafted.
it's beautiful, and it's a one size fits all hat. Did you come up with that design?
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it just
basically, tell us how it is.
Came
Yeah.
to me in a
Vision.
laying awake one night. Yeah,
but it came to you.
yeah.
Like from
I just
outside
wanted
of
to.
you.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted a hat that everybody could wear. It wouldn't have to be sized.
So it has a liner inside of it. So it's a describe to me how you made these.
So the actual fur part is made from 1.5 hide. So you get the lid out of one. You can get the lid out of the half hide.
Yeah.
And then the sides and the tail come out of another hide. They're stitched together, and then the liner and the sweatband inside. It's a satin liner with a leather sweatband. Is an inside, and they're all joined together with hand. They're all hand stitched together. The liner to the hide, and yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah. So
This one's got a beautiful long tail on it. It was a beautiful hide.
oh, it's so warm, just noble, regal, elegant. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. We're probably I gave Josh 36 coon
Yeah.
hides, that
Wow.
tanned coon hides, and we're gonna probably get like 12 hats out of them.
I think so, probably somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, and at some point, most likely, maybe it's possible, but probably will happen. I hope in the future.
Probable.
This is good marketing.
I'm certain that it's likely that at some point they'll be for sale on themeateater.com.
Whoa.
Oh yeah,
And we're not certain. And let me just tell
This is
you,
great marketing. You might be for sale.
let me tell you, they ain't
just
gonna
keep
be,
your eye on
they aren't going to be
merchandise
cheap.
page.
They aren't going to be cheap. If you were to buy a coonskin hat that you supplied the coons to a custom furrier, you'd pay like $300 for a good coonskin hat. So it's not like
So
you know,
these
when
are
Dad saw it, he
somewhere
was like,
between
"Oh yeah,
60.
man, I'd pay $75 for that." And I was like, "I bet you would." No, you'd think a coonskin hat would be cheap, but fur is actually takes a lot of skill. You know, Josh has like 3 hours in building this, and then it costs money to tan the hides, and then and we're not doing it to make money.
And are you counting the hours that it took to actually harvest these coons? too?
No, that's just free labor. Just I'm
There you
giving
go.
it back to America.
Just part of the
You're
mission of Bear
sowing-
Grease.
Yeah.
What
Sowing
America's been
into
asking for.
America.
Sewing into America.
One hat at a time. I mean, it just keeps coming back to that.
Yeah, we're probably gonna be raising some money for some special things through selling these hats.
This is like
This is truly
this
the
episode could
worst.
not be more vague.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, but one question: all these coons came from Fern, right?
Absolutely.
Every
Yeah.
one of
So
them.
so all these hides were treed by Newcomb's Ozark Bluff Creek Fern, R.I.P. The late Newcomb's Ozark Bluff Creek Fern. So about 3 weeks ago, you would have seen it on Instagram if you follow me on Instagram. But yeah, Fern died. I wasn't ready to talk about it. We had a render the day afterwards,
Yep.
and it was too soon. But now it's been about 3-4 weeks. 3 weeks, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was 8 years old. It was unfortunate. She died a little bit premature. It's complications with her lichiosis. We live in Arkansas and in the hub of the Fort Smith area, which is where there's an Air Force base called Fort Chaffee. I've heard this from multiple sources and actually heard it from a veterinarian. So I mean, I tell this story for truth that ehrlichiosis is a tick-borne illness that is like Lyme's disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Humans can get it. Any mammal can get it. And
Like a dolphin?
ehrlichiosis is endemic to – what's that?
A dolphin could get it.
That's a great question.
If there's
Josh.
tree and coons,
Yeah.
Those tree
That's a
coon
great-
and
that's a
dolphins,
deep-
man.
that's a
You
deep
gotta.
thought, Josh. Ehrlichiosis is a tick-borne disease that is endemic to Southeast Asia. And
Interesting.
the hub – have you heard this before, Ben?
well, I know where you're going with it now, but
Well, the hub of where they were bringing service dogs back from Vietnam was Fort Chaffee. So they were taking dogs into Vietnam, bringing the dogs back, and basically these dogs brought.
Maybe Gary
ticks
brought it
from
back when
Southeast
he was in
Asia.
Vietnam.
I think it was Dad.
yeah.
Did you do a tick
Well-
check before you got on the airplane?
No, I did not.
Hey, well,
Might explain the
when you
hallucinations.
came back from
of
Vietnam,
panthers.
you'd had a motorcycle wreck.
I was all bandaged up.
You look like a war hero.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Why did you tell me about? Okay, let me finish this thought, but we got to go back to that.
I'll help. Remember.
So ehrlichiosis.
Mhm.
The further you get away from Fort Smith, the less likely that you're influenced by ehrlichiosis. But like, there's like a heat spot within about 200 miles of Fort Smith that like almost every dog. This is an exaggeration, but close to true. Like almost every dog in this region is going to have some amount of ehrlichiosis. And 2 years ago, Fern almost died before we figured out what was wrong with her, and we got her on antibiotics and treated her. And the older she got, she would go through spells of when this ehrlichiosis would flare up, and you can't really cure it. You carry it your whole life, but when it flares up, you get on doxycycline and steroids and different things. And basically, I was gone for 8 days, and when I came back, she was just down. And, you just almost wouldn't have noticed it unless you just were really paying attention. And it took me a day or two to realize, yeah, she doesn't look good. And basically, it was just too late. And we got her on doxycycline and got her on everything. And basically, I couldn't bring her back from it.
Wow.
And
She'd kind of. I mean, she was aging.
yeah,
she was not the
8
same-
years old.
She was not the same Fern she was 2 years before when she had a bad flare up of it. So I think there's a little bit of the stages of grief, part of the denial and the bargaining and all that. I think there's a little denial about her baseline was pretty poor the last couple of
Yeah.
years. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
But she hunted hunted good up until last winter.
yeah.
Even this summer, I hunted her this summer.
Yeah, I'm not saying she couldn't hunt. I'm just saying I think that Clay feels like if he'd have been here, he could have fixed this. I'm not sure he could have.
Right.
I'm not
I'm
sure.
gonna write a song about this.
It'd be a heartbreaker.
If I'd have been there.
Man, there's an old country song about Feed Jake.
Yeah, but that was the owner.
The owner died. Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah.
No, it really was sad for me. Fern was the best coon dog I've ever owned, and she came around. It was almost by accident that I got her, and she was such a good dog for me. She was, and so it was hard to lose her. It was, but I'm hunting a new young dog, and we're already gathering up some coons.
Does she treat some?
Yeah, yes and no. Not really all by herself, but I've been hunting her, and we've been bringing coons home in the back of the truck. Let me just say it that way.
What's her name?
Hoot.
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 That's good.
Yeah.
She, a couple.
It's Fern's niece.
Yeah.
So Fern's brother is the sire of Hoot.
I'll see if I can find the video. She got her name because we put a video up of her on Instagram. She had the funniest, she's the barkingest dog we've ever had. And when she was a newborn, we brought her inside and she would get going and then she would kind of howl like a barred owl. She would sound the way she would. It was real funny.
So yeah, we got a lot of hope. Hope for Hoot 23. That's the campaign.
Hashtag.
Hope for Hoot. Yeah. If you want to tag me on that on Instagram, go for it. Hope for Hoot 23. It's all we got, man. And we've still got Jed, which the world Bear Hunting Magazine people would know. Jed was the dog that I used to make videos of that would jump up on my desk and everything. And man, I tell you what,
Jed's a sweet dog.
You learn a lot about a dog, and I think you learn. I mean, maybe you could learn this about people. Jed, if you turn Fern and Jed loose and they went and treated a coon, you would think Jed was a top-notch coon dog because he's going to strike with Fern. He's going to run with Fern. He's going to be there every breath. He's going to tree. You're just saying, man, I got two fine coon dogs until Fern's gone. And Jed, he can't tree a coon for the life of himself.
He really can't.
He tries hard too, man. It's almost like he's confused. Like he burns out of there and he's like, here we go, winter 22, let's go, coon season, yeah. And then he goes out there and like he runs backtracks and he can't. There's all kind of things going on in coon hunting that a dog has to be able to do. They got to know which way to run the track. They got to be able to locate the tree. And Jed, he just can't do it, man.
My favorite part about hunting with Jed, though, that's great, is that he likes to show off. He's real athletic, and he likes to. He's
a climber and a runner,
and he likes to leap.
Trees.
He likes to like get on a hillside and try to leap towards the tree. And it's kind of a beautiful thing to watch. Like you're out there in the evening, and you've just got a coon light out there, and you see that silhouette of that dog jumping from the side of the hill.
I've got pictures of Jed no less than like 12 feet up a like almost straight oak tree.
Really?
He'll just run and hit that tree and just scramble up there.
He doesn't have a great nose, but he's got a lot of enthusiasm.
What they do when they get up there is they just kind of push off the tree and then just come down and land. And it's actually dangerous. He's a climber, so lots of dogs get killed.
Oh,
lots of dogs get killed by being climbers because if you have a slanted tree that a coon's in. They'll catwalk and get way up in the top of a tree. Brent was actually on a hunt where a dog died that had climbed a tree.
well, that's really sad.
Jed's only fallen out of a tree a couple times that I've seen.
Might be why he can't tree a coon now.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
Dad, Vietnam. When you came home, you had a motorcycle wreck.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, I can make the story real short or I can make it real long.
Make it as long as you want.
Okay. Well, we had a buddy when we were in the States that wanted to be a war hero. He had a buddy killed in Vietnam, and he tried to get in something where he could fight. He really wanted to be a helicopter pilot, wanted to be a warrant officer. And he couldn't get through. I mean, he had a degree from University of Missouri, one of the smartest guys you've ever met, great personality. And so once they put him in the post office with me, he kind of devoted his whole career to just monkey with people. It was real fun to be with him. And he was smarter than most of the officers. So, I mean, he could do cool stuff to us. Well, anyway, after he got out of a French dungeon when we were in Germany, my other buddy, we're already in Vietnam.
French dungeon.
Well, he got picked up for doing some stuff. It wasn't too good. and so anyway, his dad was an attorney. He came over.
Oh, so he straight up got arrested.
Yeah,
France.
it's pretty serious stuff.
Okay.
I mean, to us as GIs, it was, it wasn't bad, but to the world it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get to Vietnam and we get him shipped over to us.
Yeah.
So we're all at this post office, and we got a one-man post office up in Way, the Tet of 68, where all the fighting was going on. And this was in 69. And so we told ourselves, if you'll get this guy in here, we'll have him behave as long as you're here. Once you leave, 2 or 3 weeks or a month, we'll turn him loose.
Okay, so the boss man was going to be there for 3 more weeks.
Something like that.
And you requested a favor.
Yeah, he was kind of our buddy. He was the captain.
And you said, hey, get this guy here.
If you get him here, we promise you he'll behave until you leave. And so once he leaves, of Quint takes over, man. I mean, this guy, I'll tell you his name. I'd love for, we've tried to contact him. We think he's probably dead. He was so crazy. But so he gets in the post office in Way, one-man post office. I mean, this is going to be a zoo. Well, we're at the big post office in Fubai, and I mean, we just can't wait to see what he's going to be up to. After about 6 months, 3 months maybe, he's got an apartment downtown, which you can't even get off the compound. I mean, you get there in a vehicle, you stay there. Right. You don't even get off the base. Well, he's got a apartment downtown. When you go into his hooch, he's got stuff from the commissary. He's fixing to open a restaurant. I mean,
this is an American GI in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He's got a business in Way.
Well, he hadn't opened it, but he's got the merchandise there. He's planning where he's going to do it, and how he's going to pull it off, who he's going to get to run it. But he does have the apartment, and I spent the night with him one night. I mean, you could hear gunfire in the streets. So anyway, he buys a Honda 90 and a Honda 50. I mean, this guy's in Vietnam. And, of course, we're in Vietnam, and we're so bored that we just had to create stuff, to get us through. Well, here, Quint's got this apartment and 2 motorcycles. So
this is off of the base, and, you're not even supposed to leave the base.
Yeah, he had stuff we would dress up in. He called it Korean outfits. We'd put on Korean hats, and we would walk off the base, even though we were bigger than Koreans, and we could get off the base, and he had little ways, and he could get us back to this shop where he had these motorcycles. And then we'd go ride these motorcycles all day and come spend the night in his apartment. And so, anyway, we're just out, and he took us out into the A Shaw Valley. We'd go to restaurants. We thought we were going to a restaurant one time, and it was actually a family reunion. and so I mean that was pretty comical. And so
now I remember this. I've heard these stories my whole life. They go to this place that they think is a restaurant. There's all these people eating and all this food set out, and they walk in and y'all start eating, right?
Well, I mean they brought us food.
They brought you food.
Yeah.
And then you were hoping to pay for it, and they're like,
it's this older guy was what they called an opium freak, and Quint, well, he could relate to him, Quint can talk enough, and finally Quint looks over at us and goes, "Hey, this is a family reunion, and they're glad we're here." And so they brought us little things to drink and some little rice and stuff. And then we leave, and we just come out of the A Shaw Valley. If you know what the A Shaw Valley is, all this Agent Orange, that's where all the fighting, I mean, they were in the A Shaw Valley, those Viet Cong. And we go, "Quint, are you sure we can ride these motorcycles in the A Shaw Valley?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, man." He said, "We'll just hit the edge of it and come around to this restaurant." And, we run into infantry guys in the back of a deuce and a half, and we pull up behind them. And, they're all sitting there like this, and they look back, and they just loved it. They just went berserk.
When they saw that
saw that we were on 4 guys on 2 motorcycles.
And they were like, "Hey,
there
those
were
are our
4
guys."
of you on 2 motorcycles.
Yeah, 4 of us on 2 motorcycles.
A Honda 90 and a Honda 50.
So, I mean, we're driving through hooches. We're seeing big Buddhas about the size of your house back in the jungles. I mean,
wow.
It is a treat for a guy locked up in Vietnam. I mean, it's just like the most freedom I'd ever felt. So we'd play little games, we'd race and we'd chase, and so Quint would drive one, I'd drive the other one, and then we had buddies on the back. And so my buddy, he, I just thought I'd slap him with a limb, just be driving down the road and hit a tree like this.
Kind of lean out.
I'd lean back, and I was going to slap him with a tree limb.
Yeah.
Well, there's concertina wire in it, and it took our motorcycle.
Oh, man.
It just skipped us down the highway, and my arm was all messed up.
So, like barbed wire.
Concertina wire.
Like the stuff they would use to keep people out. Wow. So it just skidded y'all down the road.
Yeah.
And this must have been right before you went home.
It was. And so I had to go to the
How'd you explain
infirmary.
that?
Yeah.
At the infirmary.
Oh, I don't remember that part, but I know when I went home, I was bandaged from here down, and I've got a picture of me coming off the plane with my arm bandaged up. So,
Oh wow.
anyway, Vietnam was not good, but we made the best of it.
Yeah.
Your buddy could have been an undercover CIA or something, doing
Yeah.
some high level operations
Yeah.
in the city.
Oh yeah,
that
I mean,
Yeah.
he had
was
the
pretty good
ability
cover.
to do
Yeah,
anything, really.
yeah. Well, and I mean, back circling full circle here, folks. Like, we don't know if Dad did a tick check or not when he came back. So he may have brought the ticks back from East Asia. Ehrlichiosis, fern, coonskin hat. Here we are back again in the render.
Bear Grease
Wow.
podcast.
That was
Wow.
a great
Taking
great
you on a
summary
journey
there.
tonight.
Yeah, it was a long way to get there,
Mhm.
but here we are at Bear Grease, the Bear Grease render.
And kudos to Ben for bringing it back to the actual
Yeah.
topic of the render.
Yes.
No, I was actually dead serious. Like, what if he really was an undercover guy doing some high level stuff? I mean,
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know.
And yeah.
Well, we knew he wasn't.
That's what they all said about RT too. Okay, so this third Secret Agent Man podcast. Let me say that when I went to Ohio to meet with RT Stewart, you never know what you're going to get into. That's what's so wild about what I'm doing is I envision this being one podcast. You just don't know how someone's going to respond to, or just if they're going to give you a lot or give you a little, or just how it's going to go. And when I was with RT, I spent 3.5 hours with him, just talking nonstop. And I knew, I was like, this is really good. There's a lot of story here. And so, we were able to make 3 full podcasts. So just a review, if you've not heard them, the first one was called Secret Agent Man, RT Stewart, which was a big, high-level overview of RT's life as an undercover agent, kind of what they did, how they did it. And it ended in a climactic moment of me asking RT, was it worth it? Like, all that you had to do. RT talked about the difficulties he had with family, and he said no. And that was like a really unique podcast. The second podcast was it was called Secret Agent Man, Operation Redbud, Part 2. And that was about the biggest sting that they ever did, which was the largest turkey poaching sting in the U.S. at the time. The third one was called Secret Agent Man, Instinct. And it was really, really what happened from a functional level is that I had built these 2 podcasts, but I still had multiple disconnected, really fun stories from RT that I couldn't fit in the other ones. So, but I really wanted to tell those parts of the story. And then I'd also interviewed Dr. Matthew Sharps, which I need to make a correction. I said he was from
Fresno?
I stated the wrong university that he was from. He's from California. I believe he's from California State. Somebody look up where Dr. Matthew Sharps is a professor of. I need to make a correction there. But he gave basically what I was trying to do in the stories that were told about RT was that he just had an uncanny ability to get out of situations. And then I started asking Dr. Matthew Sharps about that, about how humans respond under stress, and when we go on autopilot, what happens. And he starts talking about script violations, and how there's a whole lot of stuff that's built inside of us at a DNA level that we feel like is unconscious and unplanned, but it's actually like really deep inside of us. And he gave some really unique examples that didn't directly relate to RT, but showed us that we are flowing at a whole level of action sometimes that we don't even connect to conscious thought. For instance, like him saying that that humans have an innate, built into them in their DNA, desire to be near cover at dark.
Yep.
Did y'all think that was interesting?
No.
That
very
was
interesting.
fascinating.
I thought the part about like even paintings, like we have
Yeah.
like preferential
Yeah.
taste
Yeah.
inside of paintings that we want people to. Yeah, I thought that was super fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at a DNA level. But if you think about it, envision yourself with your family out in a big giant field, and it starts to get dark, like I guess you could rationalize staying in the middle of the field, but like you're like,
I don't know.
we
I'd
need to
want to
get-
be near the cover.
We need to get some cover.
Oh, and where you could climb
Yeah.
to safety.
Yeah, and that's what he said. He said because we used to have to watch out for big cats. I mean, some people in Arkansas and Alabama still do.
Black Panthers.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But
It's probably a little stronger in us, that sixth sense.
Cal
Yeah.
State, in Fresno.
California State and Fresno is
Yeah.
where Dr. Matthew Sharp started. He was a neat guy. He was a fun guy.
Mhm.
I think that's what you said, wasn't it?
Well,
Cal
I
State?
said it on the first one. The second one, I said a different one.
Okay.
And somebody called me out on it.
I was really fascinated by a human's ability to 3 times like your ability to memorize tracks.
That was
Yeah.
interesting.
In his test sample were like urban students, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good research. I'm glad there's guys researching stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when I heard that. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes you wonder how much we really are flowing. Did it make sense when I did the spot on Supernatural? Did that make sense in why I was saying that?
It does to me.
Everybody's quiet.
I was going to say the
Yeah.
same thing it does to me.
I mean, it does to me because I think I think from our worldview, and that's what I was thinking as I was listening to this. We have space inside of our worldview for a spiritual component of our life, and
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if like doctrinally if that's the right word to use, but like we believe there's a spirit, soul, and body, and that these are 3 aspects of a human being, and we do things to intentionally make our spirit alive and active and a dynamic part. So I feel like when I was listening to that, I was thinking there's for sure things that have happened that are in the supernatural realm that I've
Yeah.
experienced personally, and I would have a hard time separating those things from what they described as like these DNA encoded.
Well, that was kind of my point, was that there are mechanisms that describe things that maybe someone would have attributed as a sixth sense or something supernatural. And then you could go, well, turns out it wasn't supernatural. Turns out this is a result of, just humans being on the landscape for how long. And all I was saying was I absolutely believe that. But I was saying the mechanism of how this stuff happens does not negate for me another thing
Right.
that I'm not talking about, and I was just like, I absolutely believe in the ability for someone to get information that absolutely doesn't come from here and doesn't come from our DNA, but comes from a divine source. That's all I was saying. Because
Well,
I guess that the next train of thought was like, oh, shoot, there's no such thing as instinct. Instinct is just built into our DNA. We're actually tapping into some unseen database of intel that's making us move.
The way that I always summarize this kind of struggle you're talking about between like science and spirituality is that they're not mutually exclusive. They answer different questions. Like science
Right.
addresses the how, and the spirituality addresses the why.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
when I hear stuff about that, and we can trace this anthropologically to blah blah blah, I'm like, well, to me that just answers the how, but it could still be some divine source. That's one thing I love about Bear Grease is that, to me, when you try to whittle everything down to this, super scientific rationale, it actually kind of oversimplifies it.
Yeah.
Because there were scientific traceable evidence and conclusions that were being brought up in that episode. But to me, that doesn't negate how amazing it is.
Yeah.
It's like, look at this ability, these social abilities that we have because of our large brains, because of however long we've been here, whatever. It's pretty incredible. And to see that go from this ancient context to now this guy, in this context of undercover,
Yeah.
it to me, I like the whole series because it just showed me just how unexplainable our minds are and unexplainable people are. And to me, it's just a really cool series.
What about when he go ahead, Misty, what were you going to say?
Well,
Let Misty talk. 23.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things, he talked about these fight or flight instincts kind of brought that on.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was putting himself in an incredibly dangerous situation. And one of the things that I think about a lot is that just how people over time, that spiritual component, that sixth sense, whatever you call it, has become numb, or more so than it was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because of philosophies of thought that have shifted and that say, well, that's actually not even, if it's not measurable, visible, these are things, if it's intangible, we
repeatable.
don't, all those things,
It doesn't
then
exist.
it doesn't exist. So that's part of that. Part of it is that society has shifted in a lot of parts of the world, to where we're not in such a survival state. And one of the things that I think is interesting, an interesting question to ask is, have those things numbed us to the point, and numbed our kids and the kids that are growing up now to the point that they are going to have to, it's hard. You have to make space for that aspect of your life to come alive. And this guy basically created that space by putting himself
into like a wild situation.
Yeah, in a wild situation. And
if the structures of life were tore down around us, we'd all get real spiritual real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched my bees last week. We had like 70-degree weather all week long. And the way they acted the night that it was going to drop to 20 from like have that 50-degree, which is a big deal, was interesting to me. Just like watching them, they were out and alive, but they were kind of crazy. Bees can be peaceful or they can be agitated, and they were agitated. And you hear all these stories about the birds before that big tsunami, that the birds kind of, and all the animals retreated from the coast. It's almost like they knew. So there was some definite biological things. But I think I have like real specific examples, even of you, of like being concerned for you or not concerned, where I did feel like it was a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, I don't know, you make yourself more open to that realm. Or
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was interesting. I also thought it was interesting when he said that humans can can pick out a serial killer just by looking in their eyes. Now, he said they didn't know they were serial killers, but if you gave an eye gate image of like 10 people, you would be like, that guy and that guy I don't trust.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, some percentage of the time, a high percentage of the time, they're like, well, okay, those two guys are serial killers.
That's
what I
crazy.
tried to describe, which was kind of hard to do, but think about an actual image of someone's eyes. Like envision just like a cropped photo where all you could see was eyebrows over and, maybe under the eyes, like 2 inches across the bridge of the nose. What would be different about that between people?
What does a serial killer have?
It's literally, like you could draw it out and you could say, well, his eyes were slightly closed more. His pupils were bigger.
Like
Gary Newcomb's always looking up pupils. He is. I walk into Dad's house and he hadn't seen me in a month.
You've been smoking marijuana.
Yeah, he does. I walked into his house the other day after being hunting and he hadn't seen me in a while. And I can always tell when Dad hadn't seen me in a while, he just stares at me for a long time. And he said, "You look like you're on drugs." And I was like,
actually, your mother
Nope.
brought that up. You really didn't. But I do notice certain people. In fact, I know it's not always true because I've seen it in 2 or 3 people that I know aren't on drugs, but their pupils are about this big.
Right.
Hey, let me say something about what you're talking about, all this spiritual stuff and sixth senses and things. I really liked this guy, your PhD guy. I mean, and I think what he's saying, there's a lot of truth to it. But there's another side of that thing that the boy missed. And that is that when I raised you guys, Judy and I did, we would not allow y'all to fight and argue. And it took something away from you where when you got out in society, you weren't as equipped as other kids to verbally defend yourself, even though I never saw it. But I just know there's a reason it's so consistent within kids to scuffle and argue and learn how to be a defense attorney. I mean, they really do, I think. And so he was raised up with 2 or 3 older brothers. So his whole life,
RT
is spending a great amount of time trying to survive. He's learning how probably now, not necessarily with you guys, but a lot of kids, if you're brought up in the ghettos, you learn how to lie to the police, you learn how to tell stories, you learn how to get out of stuff. He was learning how to think real quick on his feet. Mom, I didn't do that. He learned this stuff as he was growing up. So he was very well equipped to handle things quick, or his brothers were going to beat him up.
Yeah, because his brothers were fighters.
And whether you believe it or not, there's a lot to that. He trained his whole life for this. Just, he was a fighter. He was an interesting guy. He's in law enforcement. He's if you're going to survive as a little kid and you got an older brother, you know what it was like.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good point that and it wasn't like this guy was living a real protected life. I mean, the stories that he told about his life, the coal mines and all that.
Yeah.
And when they asked him how many fights he got in, and he's
40.
like, "Oh, not many."
Was that on this episode?
Yeah, that was on this episode.
Oh, that was one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Only 40.
Only
40.
40 fights. How many times did he have to defend himself in front of a parent or a police officer or a school teacher or, his girlfriend, somebody?
Right. He had to explain himself.
He had to go, wait a minute, and whether he had to be quick on his feet.
Yeah, he did.
I think what I hear you saying is that before you try to jump to all these big biological conclusions, maybe look at a guy's immediate family, and you can probably get a lot of.
Yeah.
I definitely saw that a lot when I used to teach in public school, and it was kind of sad. But you could watch a family, you could watch boys and girls growing up and be like, man, I don't want them to end up in prison, but man, it's going to take a lot of intervention for these behaviors to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so those patterns are pretty traceable. And
There's a movie that Opie Taylor was in The Courtship of Eddie's Father. Did y'all see that?
Mm-mm.
My mom liked all these old movies, and in it, he was trying to explain to his dad what made a good woman, the type of what he was. His dad was a widower, and Richie Cunningham, what's his actual
Ron
name?
Howard?
Ron Howard, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Opie's a little boy, and he describes like squinty eyes are the kind of woman you don't want. He describes some other characteristics as well. But the kind women were the ones with the round eyes, and it's real funny. It's really, you should find that clip and play it because it's actually
right, didn't he?
it's really funny. And
You
he
have
was
round eyes.
oh okay,
Well,
not a bad girl,
Not
not really
exactly.
actually.
Hey, what about the movie? I'm real bad at remembering the name of movies, but this older, smart mafia guy was giving this young kid some advice. He said, when you date this girl tonight, let me tell you what, you take her to your car, and you open the door, and you get her in, you close the door. Then you go to your side and make sure the door is locked on your side. When you come to the door, pull out your key to unlock. If she doesn't unlock that door, just take her home. And so anyway, that's.
what was he saying?
Well, he was just saying if that girl has not got enough smarts to look over and see the door's locked and care enough about you to reach over and unlock it, take her home. And, of course, it made a lot of sense when you watch the movie. But so there's little things that you can watch for. Girls that wear rubber boots are always really good wives.
yeah.
Mrs. got a rubber boot.
Yes.
Cashmere sweaters and fancy pants and shirts and rubber boots. Yeah, I like that.
So there were multiple stories. I think one of the best stories was when he was buying walleye from a guy near Lake Erie. So Ohio. I'm now like an Ohio expert.
Wow.
I find I really connect with these guys from Ohio. Ohio's a pretty rough place.
There's the Appalachian Trail to Ohio. What do they call that? They call that highway that runs from.
I don't think it goes through Ohio.
No, it does. It lands in Ohio. It's where people migrated away when they were trying to get work outside the coal mines, and they landed in Ohio. Oh, what do they call it?
We're out of our lane here.
Okay.
He was buying illegally caught perch. There was a big thing going on where guys were catching perch and selling it illegally. Which
Have
is
you ever
illegal.
eaten yellow perch?
No.
Have you ever eaten walleye?
Yeah, walleye.
Those are two of the best eaten
Yellow
fish.
perch is,
Oh
too.
man,
Okay.
our friend Troy Booth made us fish tacos out of perch one day.
Really?
It was delicious.
Yeah, I kind of was wondering, like, around here, a perch is not a great, people eat them. We eat them. I mean, whatever, but it's not, you wouldn't die for a perch out of the pond over here. Or brim, as we call them.
A perch is something different, I think.
Oh, it is. It
Yeah.
is totally different.
Yeah, it was
But
delicious.
Buying perch, buying these yellow perch, and the guy, they're at a party, and you hear a bigger story. Chip told a real condensed version. They're at a big party, and these guys are like pretty wealthy, but they're selling a ton of perch illegally, and RT's buying it, and he's a known buyer. He's been buying it, just racking up tickets for them. He would weigh when they would sell him fish, that he would go, they would say like, here's 2 pounds of fish, and RT would be like, are you sure? And he'd get his scale out and weigh it and document it, write it down.
Right in front of him.
Yeah, and be like, okay, that's actually 2.7 pounds. Thank you for the extra, whatever. But the guy says, how do I know you're not a game warden? And then RT jumps up, yells at the guy, and says, I think you're the bleeping game warden. He says, I tell you what, take off all your clothes. And RT starts taking his clothes off, drops his pants down to his ankles, pulls his shirt off, throws his shirt on the ground, standing there with his pants at his ankles, shirt off, at a party, yelling at this guy, demanding that he take his clothes off so he can see if he's carrying a wire. And the guy that thinks RT is a game warden is just like, chill out, man. and then RT's wearing a cowboy hat, and he's wearing the wire under his cowboy hat.
Love it.
I mean, I thought it was so cool that Sharps, he told me what that was. It was a script violation.
Yeah, there you go. That was really
It
interesting
was.
to me because I've actually seen that. We've all seen that
Yeah.
take place in our lives. That's where these little kids learn this stuff. The really sharp kids, mama jumps on them for something. They go, well, Susie just shot the game warden,
Yeah.
And so, then what? So this girl's free, she's
Script
quick.
violation.
Yeah, script violation.
Did y'all like how I encourage people to try it?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
did.
I was waiting for the right moment, but I said it. Sometimes people ask you for stuff that you can't give them, and so you gotta find a way out. Script violation.
I think just thinking about kids, in our family, we knew if we could make our mom laugh. So you would be getting in huge trouble. But if
Yeah.
you could because she's got a weak spot. If you make that woman laugh, you could get out of anything.
And your brothers are all funny.
And they
Well, that's
come
why they're
on now.
funny.
My brothers are all funny. I'm hilarious.
I'm assuming that you never did anything wrong, Misty,
I didn't
and
do
had
very
to
much
get
wrong.
anything
Yeah.
get out of it.
Yeah.
Whitetail Institute launched the food plot revolution in 1988 with a concentration on research and real-world testing of forage products specifically for whitetail deer. Whitetail Institute's research and development team of agronomy experts provide effective, personalized service. I've been using Imperial Whitetail Clover for a long time in a food plot back behind my house. In 2007, I killed the biggest buck of my life over an Imperial Whitetail Clover small quarter-acre food plot. Imperial Whitetail Clover is the only clover scientifically developed through years of selective breeding. Clover Extreme genetic stability provides extreme cold tolerance, disease, and drought tolerance. It really does. Clover is coated with Whitetail Institute's Rain Bond, a polymer coating added for enhanced seedling survivability. They have an exclusive offer for Bear Grease listeners, 15% off Imperial Clover when you use the code BEAR at whitetailinstitute.com. That's whitetailinstitute.com and use code BEAR for 15% off. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. She'll love looking back on these memories and seeing what you're up to today. Even better, with unlimited storage and an easy-to-use app, you can keep updating Mom's frame with new photos, so it's the gift that keeps on giving. And this is not a joke. Juju Newcomb has an Aura frame, and we share photos, and they're incredible. Also, my mother-in-law has one. We have them. They truly are really good, really high quality. The Aura frame is easy to set up. It takes just 2 minutes to set up a frame using the Aura app. It also adjusts the display depending on light levels in the room to maintain the true color of your photos. For real, the digital screen is amazing. Right now, Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $30 off plus free shipping on their best-selling frame when you use code BEAR, B-E-A-R, BEAR. That's auraframes.com. Use code BEAR at checkout to save. Terms and conditions apply. Sport Dog is the most recognized brand in the hunting dog training industry. Born in 2003 in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sport Dog was forged by a passionate group of hunters and dog trainers who intimately understood the challenges of the field and the special connection between hunters and their dogs. The people at Sport Dog know that having a well-trained hunting dog is more than just having a reliable partner. It's a commitment to their safety and unlocking their full potential. The Sport Dog promise to customers is simple: gear the way you design it. Every product Sport Dog builds is meticulously designed and rigorously tested in the field, ensuring it withstands the toughest conditions you and your dog may encounter. Trust Sport Dog, where innovation meets passion, to elevate your hunting experience and strengthen the bond with your local companion. Using tracking equipment on my squirrel and coon dogs is extremely important to me to track my squirrel dogs and my one old coon dog that's not very good. Get 20% off your first purchase using the code BEARGREASE. Go to www.sportdog.com/beargrease to learn more.
Okay, the other one was so the script violation. Like, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
The other one was he's sitting around a card table, and there's been a bald eagle that's been killed.
Yeah,
I thought that was
something.
crazy.
That was something.
The poachers are setting him. He doesn't know it, but they say, "We know who killed that bald eagle." And RT never lifted his eyes off his cards. They were playing poker, and he just never paid any mind to it. And then 2 weeks later, the guys go, "Man, we thought you were a game warden." That's why we said that eagle thing. They laugh. I mean,
Crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
That's pretty good.
To me, that story was told the most about his complexity. Like, for a person to have all that confidence and fearlessness, yet the self-control in that moment, that to me was really interesting. Like, the script violation, like, comedians do that stuff all the time to be funny. I used to have a friend in college, and if you're parked in front of those concrete barriers, he had a big old Jeep, he'd always, you think you're about to back up, he'd drive over it. It's just hilarious. He was always doing something weird like that. But in that moment, I want to know what went through his brain in those milliseconds to know that would have put him in danger.
I want to know
incredible.
that too. That's what when I was listening to this one, just listening to him talk, I thought, RT's a fun guy, like did a big service, but he kind of rough. I mean, when he was talking about his stories, I thought I could have gone to high school with this guy. I mean, like, I know people like him who were just smart, but pretty rough, and that really uniquely equipped him for this. And I couldn't help but think how much of this was just like, you just kind of learned to shut your mouth and not say, like, maybe he wasn't being strategic in that moment. Maybe he was, and looking back, he's like, oh, that was really strategic. Not to discount what he did, but just like, maybe you just kind of know how to handle yourself around rough people.
Well, and he even said, you said you were a master at that. And he said, well, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I was pretty good at it.
Isn't that the way that people do things, though, is that he wouldn't have thought I was good at this.
Yeah.
Like he just was doing what he knew how to do. And then, 30 years later, when you kind of examine what he did, you're like, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's kind of the way a lot of stuff works. I mean, that's the way guys in wars often, they come back from a war. There's like, dude, we were just doing what we were supposed to do, and it was terrible. But then you dive into what they did, and it's like that was pretty heroic. That was
Right.
pretty unusual
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, maybe it was. Yeah. He wasn't too. To him, it was just normal life.
Yeah.
But
when he stripped down, that was the danger right there. I mean, somebody could have said, "Okay, let's look at your hat now." I mean, he could have been his goose cooked. So he was gambling, and he knew from probably childhood experiences that you get naked, and from a bunch of folks, you can get away with a hat on.
That's why you wear that believer hat.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but that I would not have ever had the savvy to do that. I mean, that
Would
takes
not have crossed him.
that takes a war type hero type guy to say, "Hey, man, I'm gonna lay her on the line right now, brothers."
He didn't have a choice, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that we're not putting ourselves in is these high stakes moments, and that's what is so unusual. What was the other one? So it was the walleye, it was the eagle story, and then Chip Gross told
They
a
call
third.
him RT, real turkey.
Yeah, real turkey.
Real turkey.
In
Yeah,
the
yeah.
40 fights.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just crazy.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the real turkey. Now, I think the real turkey was just wit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I don't think RT ever thought, if I'm ever called out by a turkey.
Nah, yeah, he just pulled that
I
out
doubt
of his hat.
he
He's a smart
premeditated
guy,
a lot
man.
of these
That's
actions,
what it
you
boiled
know,
down to. The guy's a
that's
smart
why
guy.
they call me real turkey, RT.
with bursts of adrenaline going towards his brain. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
your fight or flight response is to shoot adrenaline to whatever is needed at that time.
Yep.
You mentioned the cortex a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
and then this guy brings it up again. So if you get too much blood flowing through your cortex, it doesn't work properly, or what was he saying?
No, I think what he was saying was in a fight or flight moment, your physical body requires more blood energy to potentially fight or run. And so it takes blood away from your brain.
I got
so
you.
you actually aren't consciously thinking, but you go on autopilot.
I got
So
you.
there's less fuel in your brain, and so your brain is just running off instinct, whatever you want to call it. That's what I understood. Is
Yeah.
that what y'all
Yeah,
understood
yeah,
too?
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but
And we're all doctors, so we know.
Mhm. Well, it was a fun series. I think people really liked it.
Did he retire from DNR?
Oh yeah, and he did.
Hey, what about this? Was just one of the things of this episode that really surprised me, that the Ohio State News, ran a story on undercover wildlife agents while he was undercover.
Okay, Miss Newcomb, we actually covered that in the first episode and this one.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, in the render we talked
Did
about
you-
it.
Were you able to listen? No, I'm just kidding.
Did we talk about that in the render?
No. So okay, in the first
Isaac,
episode,
cut that out where Clay was real mean to me.
in the first episode, no, Chip Gross told a story. Chip Gross, the guy who wrote RT's book in first person,
Got it. Mm-hmm.
he was a game warden in Ohio, but he also wrote for Ohio DNR's like magazine that they sent to all their
Right.
constituents. They had just started this undercover unit in the wildlife agency, and it was public knowledge. It wasn't like super top secret that like, hey, we're doing this thing now. And he went to the supervisor and asked if he could write an article about the undercover agents. And the guy said, sure. And so he writes an article, and target number two, we all know target number
Yeah.
2,
Mm-hmm.
Nice guy.
carries the magazine article back to RT and says, look at this. These guys are living with these folks. And RT's like, golly, I can't believe it. And RT was very angry at Chip Gross.
For writing the article.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. That's the way
Yeah.
I felt when
Yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate
And
that
it's funny.
for sure.
And you heard them bantering back and forth. So in the interview, Chip Gross was there with me. And Chip is funny, man. Chip is like, I don't know how old Chip is. Chip's 70. I mean, he's a really fit guy, really smart, sharp, like fun guy.
Like Gary.
And I'm sure Chip is going to be listening to this podcast. So Chip, hat tip to Chip Gross.
Uh-huh.
And if you're only 62, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that, Chip. If you're not 70, no, Chip's a lot of fun, and he's a great writer. And and he wrote the book Poachers Were My Prey, which you can find on Amazon.
How did the book do? Is what I was curious about. Do you know?
Yeah, it did well for a book that, I mean, it wasn't like a New York Times bestseller, but it was just kind of a regional book published by a state university. And so I don't know the numbers, but I think the book did well. And I know he's got a lot of sales on it since this podcast came out.
Awesome.
But so Chip was there, and he and RT were going back and forth about, RT was like, I couldn't believe you did that. And Chip was he was like, sorry, man.
How big is RT? I've been kind of wondering if I
How
should.
big an old boy is he?
How big old boy is he?
RT Mercer.
He's got to be over 6 foot. I mean, he's.
You think I could take him?
Oh yeah, RT.
How many fights you been in?
Gary Believer Newcomb.
One. And I didn't start it. This guy jumped on me. I didn't have any choice.
No, he's pretty good. He's probably 6'1", 6'2", and he's probably not in fighting shape these days. But I wouldn't want to fight him. I mean, if I fought RT, I mean,
He'd know he'd been in a fight.
He'd know he'd been in a fight.
Good.
I'm going to start saying that to Clay. You can engage in this argument.
There you go.
might even win.
You'll know you've been in a fight. That was good.
That's funny.
That was good. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for the next episode. That's all
It's
I'm
going to
gonna
be
say.
good.
No foreshadowing?
No.
None.
0.
Wow. Takes
I'm
a
a-
lot of personal discipline on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But when I wear this coonskin cap, I feel like the
You're-
king.
You're an oak.
I feel like a mighty oak tree with a giant boar coon nestled in his branches underneath an Ozark moon swaying in the wind.
Wow.
Great to have everyone.
It looks
What
like a
an image.
beautiful 80s hairstyle.
It
One more
does.
thing. Okay. Pretty sure December 14th. Almost certain. Probably. It might be. I know for sure.
Potentially.
Potentially, Meteor Season 11, my episode with the Moose,
Oh, already?
will be out
deal.
December 14th.
Cool.
Oh, good.
Pretty
So,
cool, huh?
listen, let me explain the Meat Eater.
We
Meat
might
Eater
need to have a
televi-
watch party for that.
Yeah.
episode.
And
we
maybe
should. That
we
would be
should eat
great.
some moose.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. It's a good episode. I've seen it.
I've named the moose
Um,
Steve.
For everyone that doesn't understand this, Meat Eater, the television show, my friend Steve Rinella's show, was on like Sportsman's Channel for a long time, and then the last 4 years it's been on Netflix, and that's where the world was able to watch Meat Eater, which is really cool. This year, Meat Eater season 11 is only on. It only streams from the MeatEater.com, so it's not on Netflix, but it's the same quality. I mean, it's like Meat Eater, and
Yeah,
there's-
you just don't have to pay a subscription.
you don't have to pay
get
for it. All you have to do,
Even better.
you got to put your email in. Literally, you go to the website, you click up on videos or shows, Meteor Season 11, and then it asks you for an email. You put that email in. I mean, heck, you can use my email. Just put in Clay. I'm just kidding.
I did that today, and if I can do it, anybody.
You got
can.
on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor text me and say I saw Clay squirrel hunting. He told a little bit about squirrel hunting. I said, well, I'll try to find that.
Yeah.
I think it's the one that you did years ago, a
Now,
couple
that
of years
one's
ago.
on Netflix, though.
Netflix, yeah. See, he probably
So
saw it
the
on
last
Netflix.
4 seasons are still on Netflix.
Those will remain on Netflix, so you'll still be able to watch Meteor on Netflix. But the season 11 is only on the Meteor.com, and they've been releasing episodes one per week
Mhm.
since about like October 26th. And so I think there's 8 episodes in season 11.
I need to
And-
get caught up. I've only watched like the
Yeah,
first
and
3.
I was on another one too.
Mhm.
I killed that.
The
See
very
that
first-
buck right there? That's a buck I killed in Nebraska, on Jordan Bud's
Which one?
farm.
This one over here?
The skull.
Oh,
The
Yeah.
skull
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep. We had
that's a good looking
a
dude.
neat
Yeah.
hunt in Nebraska. So that moose hunt was really it's incredible, man. I'm a moose hunter.
Did the show turn out well?
I think it did. I think Steve thought it did.
One
Too.
hunt.
Sweet.
One hunt.
I'm a moose eater. Let
Yeah.
me just say
Me
that. I'm a
Yeah, I
big
love
fan.
it, man.
Hey, I saw your deer hunt where Ranella was with Jordan,
Uh-huh.
and
You
you
saw
were
that
by
one?
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
that
deer.
buck right
that's
there.
that buck.
Yeah, in Nebraska. I mean, that was pretty cool because You were by yourself.
Yeah.
Did I interpret that correctly?
Well, I mean, I was by myself.
I mean, she probably told you where to go and what to do, but
well,
I mean, you were out there hunting on your own.
yeah, I mean, it really wasn't even that great. What wasn't fully understood in the episode was that Steve was hunting over on this cornfield, and I was like a mile away from him, but I could see him. It's so flat out there, so I'm watching them like
Wow.
about a mile away, and I'm here. They see a buck come running by just out of range, but kind of in their quadrant. That buck that morning, and it runs into the corn. Well, we meet up for lunch, and they're like, "Yep, we saw a buck," and I saw the buck too, but it was like 3/4 of a mile away from me. And they go, "Yeah, it's a good buck. It ran into the corn." And Steve wanted to go kind of still hunting that evening. He wanted to kind of stalk through the river bottoms. And I said, "Well, dude, if you're not going to sit in that spot," I said, "I'll sit in that spot because that buck went in that corn and he's going to come back out of that corn." That's what I thought.
Makes sense.
And so Steve abandoned the spot, and I went to his spot. And sure enough, that buck came out of the same row of corn he went into. I mean, just like
He literally was like 20 feet in
Yeah.
there.
he just
Just
turned
stood there.
around. He backed out. It was like put his reverse lights on and backed out of the corn, turned around, jumped the fence, and boom, I shot him. And so the whole week, that was like the first day. And so the whole week, I'm just hanging out in camp, and Steve and Jordan are out there hunting. And I kept saying, "Should have been your buck, Steve. Steve's buck. I killed your buck. I'm sorry, man. I killed your buck." And so, that's what he talked about on the episode, was that he was like, "Clay killed my buck." So it was funny. Steve's a lot of fun to hunt with. He really is. Man, for all the I'll clear the air too. On social media,
We're going deep today.
on social media, you will see me. Like if you only knew me from Instagram, you would see me razzing Steve Ranella and him razzing me. And that's fun. We enjoy that. But I mean, Steve is a great guy to work for. He truly is a great guy to hunt with, and a ton of fun. So, and Steve has been a big mentor to me. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but in the media space, like when Steve gives me input on bear grease, I listen. I really do. And
When's
so
he gonna be?
We've stayed at their home. He and his wife have
When's
been
he
really
gonna be on the
generous to
render?
Misty and I. He's been on one render.
Yeah, but not with the real render.
That's a
crew.
good idea. We ought to get him down here.
Yeah.
He's a busy man.
He didn't even listen to the render. I've been wanting to put my application in verbally, but I know he doesn't listen to it.
He listens to the Bear Grease podcast
Yeah, I mean,
religiously.
We're just nothing. I mean, come on.
Well,
Yeah.
when
He's wearing your hat though.
Yeah.
True. What were we going to say, Nick?
I was just going to say, I think he has listened to some renders because
I'm sure he does.
remember when he said that Brent was real smart, Josh,
Yeah.
and
What
said
am I, chopped
nothing
liver?
about you.
He didn't say anything about us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I enjoyed the what do you call it when you had your coat and tie or your coat on and your
Oh,
white
yeah,
shirt? That was
yeah.
pretty. That was
That's funny.
Breakdown.
That was as a dad. That was like, where did this little dirt ball come from?
Yeah, how nice and clean
So,
he looked, and then you look at him right
I get
now.
real self-conscious about that stuff.
Hey, it looked nice, man. I'm telling you, that's the only time I've ever looked at you and I thought, hey, that's my boy right there. Look at him.
What about chopped liver wearing my coonskin hat and
looked-
Dan's overalls right now, man? Come on, brother. No, not the way I looked. I mean,
Well, the way you
anybody
dress
can
the whole-
dress up and look good. No, I get self-conscious about harassing Steve Ranella because people think I'm serious. Literally, you'll put something like that on Instagram, and they'll be like, "Clay's such a jerk, man."
That's
You
what
know-
makes it funnier to me. I'm like, what if we don't get satire, dude?
Yeah.
That's
So I
hilarious.
started. You would have seen me start my post with, "This is satire. I really like Steve Ranella and Carl Malcolm. I'm not really belittling them. I think they're great hunters."
It's gonna be on my Google home feed, like Clay Newcomb, Steve Ranella, and brutal.
Yeah. For some reason, that got to me when somebody was like, "What an arrogant jerk!" You know? And I'm like, yeah, I couldn't sleep that night. It's like, man, it was supposed to be a joke.
Hey, was that all off the cuff, or did you have that scripted out sort of.
It really is all off the cuff.
That's what I thought. See, that's, you want to, I like what you were saying about, you want to dig deep and look at the science and how people act. A lot of times it's just, you just got the stuff to do it. You know what I'm saying?
What we do on those videos is at Isaac Neal, he films them and makes them, and he makes them funny. Isaac is great at making them funny. He does the edit, and Isaac coaches me too. So we'll watch an episode of Meat Eater, and I will just comment on anything that stands out. So we'll watch the whole thing, and I might talk for 10 minutes, and
he'll pick out,
and he'll go, hey, do that again, but say it like this, and I'll be like, yeah, that'd be funny. And so, some things we kind of did over, but it's kind of just like off the cuff, just kind of slinging stuff. But it's a fine line, because you don't want to like you could really rip someone a new one, and you don't want to do that entirely. You kind of want to kidney punch them a few times, but then end on a high note, because really the episodes are incredible. I mean, Meat Eater is for sure one of the best outdoor productions ever.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Ever. And so, here I am making fun of it.
Which is the humor of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Steve Rennell is a way better hunter than you.
I mean, for sure, in Western hunting.
Yeah.
You get him back here in these mountains in Arkansas.
Get after it.
Make him look like a poodle.
And then squirrels.
He did walk up in here with his 22, though. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah.
Ask him how many squirrels he killed.
Okay.
Sometimes when we go places, there's a thing in our family, there's a belief that I don't know how to leave. Like, I can't get out of a conversation if
It's more of a fact.
So we go to church or we go wherever, and the kids are like all waiting in the car, Clay and the kids. So they've coached me on how to leave a conversation. I feel like the end of this Bear Grease podcast is sort of like we're not really quite sure how to leave.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Of how we can leave?
Well, we
I
started.
could scold that squirrel dog for barking.
We started this.
Go ahead, Ben.
We started talking about the spray, and when this is my first time on the render. When I came in, the first thing you did was turn and spray the room, and I was like, "Wow, this is a big deal."
You're like, we need scent.
It's got to smell right.
This is the Bear Grease render scent.
The official
Body
spray of
if
the
you're wearing a Bear Grease
render.
hat and want to have a great time, hit a little bit of that in your house, and all of a sudden,
Old
The only
Spice
thing
the
that would
other
make
day.
it better is if this chair would break right now.
The whole time I've been saying, don't make that a talking point by you falling on your butt on this chair.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks
We're
for
gonna
having
have
me.
you back on. We gotta have Jessica on here sometime
That'd be great.
because she's a bear hunting expert
True.
and a childbirth expert.
That's right.
All right, thanks, guys.
This show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we've already done right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another. Or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you actually want to eat breakfast. In the last year, I've been more diligent about going to the gym on a regimented schedule, and it's made a lot of difference in my life. Therapy helps you find your strengths so that you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Grease today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Grease.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.